Next up, we have Sarah, the younger sister of the groom, Sam, delivering an inspiring speech. You see, Sarah here has had a challenging life, coming from a single-parent household and having only completed middle school. But today, she will share her heartfelt speech with us. And guess what? To make sure our esteemed foreign guests can understand, Sarah will be delivering her speech in English.
Wait, did she say English?
I was indeed asked to give a speech as part of the entertainment at my brother's wedding, but I never heard anything about delivering it in English. As I stood there feeling flustered, Michelle, my brother's bride, approached me with a smug smile and made a snide remark.
Oh dear, did I forget to tell you? Don't worry, Sarah. You learned English until middle school, right? I'd love to see what you can do with your middle school education. I'm sure you can handle it, right?
I understood her intention now. She wanted to embarrass me in front of all these people on such a special day. Why would she come up with something like this on such a beautiful occasion? She's truly an unpleasant person. The guests around me seemed puzzled, whispering among themselves, unable to grasp the situation.
What's the holdup? Hurry up! Can a middle school graduate even speak English? I heard someone heckle, laughing.
Well then, I'll show them. I tore apart the prepared script in Spanish and began speaking from my heart. Michelle's face turned pale as the speech unfolded. I am Sarah, 23 years old. I grew up in a single-parent household with my mother and older brother. We may not have been wealthy, but thanks to my mother and brother, we had a happy life every day. My brother was perfect in every way, always scoring near perfect marks on his tests and achieving excellent grades. Despite struggling with my studies, he treated me kindly and was the epitome of perfection. Unlike my brother, I consistently received low scores on my tests, almost failing every time. During parent-teacher conferences, I would be scolded in front of my mother. However, no matter how much the teachers scolded me, my mother never got angry.
Don't worry, it's not just about studying. Sarah's a kind and cheerful child. That's more than enough, she would say.
Thanks to the love and warmth from my mother and brother, I never felt inferior because of my academic struggles. I grew up in a peaceful and loving household, surrounded by their gentle care. As time passed, my brother was accepted as a scholarship student at a prestigious national university. Meanwhile, I barely managed to get into a regular high school slightly below average, but close to home. One day, while we were sitting in the living room, enjoying snacks and talking about how great my brother's achievements were, his phone suddenly rang. He muttered that it was an unknown number. As he answered the call, his expression changed, clouding over while speaking with the person on the other end of the line. When he hung up, he uttered just one sentence.
Mom collapsed.
We hurriedly made our way to the hospital and headed to the designated room where our mother lay in bed, with several tubes attached to her. She was speaking with the doctor. Seeing us, her children, out of breath and worried, she smiled and motioned for us to come closer. Hey, Mom, are you okay? I don't like this at all, I said, half in tears, as I jumped into my mother's embrace without fully understanding what was happening.
Oh, you're being overdramatic. I'm fine. I just pushed myself a bit too hard. I'm not going to die from something like this.
My mother replied with a smile. Our mother, a single woman raising us, had been working multiple jobs and was often away from home. It was a challenging task, and it seemed that the accumulated fatigue had finally taken its toll. She had collapsed at work and was rushed to the hospital. Until now, I hadn't thought deeply about it, but we had managed to live comfortably solely because of our mother's strength. I couldn't burden her any further. I was already at the age to start high school, and it was my turn to support my mother and this household. Hey, Mom, I want to quit high school. I'll start working instead. That way, you won't have to push yourself so hard," I exclaimed loudly, forgetting that we were in a hospital room. My mother and brother were taken aback by the sudden declaration. A brief silence followed, and then my brother broke the silence.
"If Sarah's going to work instead of going to high school for the sake of Mom, then I'll work too instead of going to college for Mom's sake," he said in response.
Echoing his sentiment, my mother raised her voice as well.
You too. You don't need to worry about me. I want both of you to pursue the paths you want. Please.
"Mom, the path I want to pursue is to help you. This is truly what I want to do. Don't worry, I heard you can always complete high school later. So, for now, please allow me to be a little selfish," I said with determination. Despite my initial intention to help my mother rather than pursue high school education, my determination had won over her and my brother, albeit reluctantly. My brother assured me that once he graduated, he would undoubtedly contribute to the family's finances. And so, from that day on, my frantic search for work began. By not pursuing high school, my highest academic qualification would be junior high school graduation. I applied to any job openings that seemed willing to hire someone with my qualifications. I went through several interviews, but it was challenging to land a job. I received rejection emails one after another. I wanted to be able to support my mother as soon as possible, but frustration continued to mount. And then, one phone call changed everything. It was a job offer from a company that was finally willing to accept me. The job was a live-in position at a luxury hotel. I would be working as a hotel staff member. Honestly, I had thought it was the least likely option, so when I hung up the phone after receiving the offer, I jumped up with joy. I wondered what kind of people would stay at a luxury hotel, and living in meant that I might get to enjoy delicious meals. I was excited about this unknown world. However, once I started working, it was a continuous struggle. Labor, something I had never experienced before in my life, was much harder than I had imagined. To begin with, I had never been on a trip that required an overnight stay, and I had never experienced staying at a hotel as a guest. So, I couldn't quite imagine what kind of service the customers expected or how to make them happy. That's why I focused solely on learning the job as quickly as possible. But my efforts were in vain. It was a series of failures. I mistook one guest for another and led them to the wrong room at the entrance. I tripped while serving in an unfamiliar kimono, turning the dishes into a mess. I tried to strictly follow the manual, which sometimes resulted in unenthusiastic customer service, and I even received complaints from guests. At first, my senior colleagues were kind, but as they witnessed my continuous failures, they began to avoid me, spreading rumors that anyone who got close to me would be dragged into troublesome situations. I tried my best, but nothing seemed to work out. My workmates treated me coldly. Honestly, there were times when I wanted to quit, but it was during those times that I started to think about my mother. I couldn't make her suffer any more than she already had. I had decided to give my all, and no matter how many failures I faced, each failure became a motivation for me to pick myself up and strive harder. Instead of just blindly putting in effort, I started to think of ways to improve. I secretly observed other hotel staff members' interactions with guests and noted down the things I found impressive. After work, I would practice my customer service skills, imagining an ideal customer. I even practiced serving while still in my uniform. Even after work, I would mutter to myself while practicing in places where no one could see me. Initially, people thought I had gone mad, and the rumors continued to circulate. But thanks to my practice, my failures gradually diminished, and I received more praise from the guests. Seeing my progress, The senior colleagues who had avoided me began to acknowledge my efforts and started treating me kindly once again. Even in the face of difficulties, I was able to overcome them with the support of my colleagues I worked with. On a day off, my mother and I were invited to an upscale restaurant by my job-hunting older brother, who said he wanted to share some news. We were nervous, thinking it might be an announcement of his marriage or something significant. However, my brother informed us that he had landed a job at a top-tier foreign company. My mother and I couldn't contain our excitement and blurted out congratulations in a loud voice, forgetting the refined atmosphere of the restaurant. But indeed, my brother was truly remarkable.
Sarah, I'm sorry for causing you trouble all this time. As I promised, I'll support the family from now on, and I have to repay our mother for raising us this far.
You two always say it's fine regarding mom, but thank you anyway.
My mother's eyes, filled with a smile, seemed slightly moist. Seeing her expression, I felt even more determined to work hard for my mother in the future. With my brother and me working, it seemed that my mother could relax a lot more. We had more time to spend together as a family of 3 on our days off, and our days became even happier than before. One day, Sarah received some joyful news. It turns out, my brother was getting married. His partner was someone he met through work, and apparently, she was an exceptional person. I would finally have a big sister. I had always admired the concept of having an older sister, so I felt a mix of happiness and nervousness. And then came the day of the meeting between the two families before the wedding. The venue was none other than the luxury hotel where I worked. In fact, the hotel where I worked was the setting. It was a place where celebrities, Nobel Prize-winning scholars, and genius surgeons from all over the world would secretly visit. It was a well-known luxury hotel where one could forget about time and find solace for the mind and body. It made sense that my exceptional brother and his fiancée would choose to use it. We thought we wouldn't be nervous since it's our regular hotel, but aren't you a little too nervous?
That's right, it's not Sarah who's getting married, after all.
Before I knew it, I found myself sitting formally, clenching my fists, and sweating in my palms. Suddenly, I laughed and thought, oh no, I'm being ridiculous. While we waited for the other family, laughing and joking around, a young woman's voice came from behind.
Excuse me.
I turned around and there stood a tall, slender, and beautiful woman. She had a stylish bob of beautiful chestnut hair, and when I looked closely, I noticed she also had a long neck. I was awestruck and found myself gaping, as if she had jumped out of a storybook. The beautiful woman smiled at me and said,
You must be Sarah, the little sister. Are you nervous? Don't worry, let's get along well today.
That beautiful woman was none other than my brother's fiancée. She would become my sister-in-law, Michelle. Michelle worked for one of my brother's company's business partners, and they met as representatives of their respective companies. She had even attended Stanford University in the United States. I was captivated by Michelle's beauty and couldn't help but keep staring at her. Whenever Michelle noticed my gaze, she would smile back at me. We hadn't had a chance to talk properly yet, but even to someone she was meeting for the first time, she would smile and it was wonderful. She must be a very kind person.
Sarah, are you listening?
I flinched at my brother's sudden question.
Sarah, you seem quite nervous.
I'm sorry. It's just that Michelleson is so beautiful. Laughter filled the air.
Sarah, I actually have a favor to ask.
What is it?
We're thinking of having our wedding at this hotel where you've been working so hard. We have many foreign guests, and this place has a beautiful garden where they can experience the beauty of Spain firsthand. Do you think they'll like it?
Oh, I think it's a great idea. I understand.
In that case, check with the manager later. Sarah, thank you.
Overwhelmed by my brother's joyful offer, I excused myself and went to the restroom. My brother's wedding at this hotel. It's quite emotional. I hope it will be a splendid ceremony. As I touched up my makeup in the washroom, I pondered again about my brother's marriage. Lost in my thoughts while staring into the mirror, I was suddenly approached from behind.
Hey, you.
Looking at the person through the mirror, it was Michelle. Her voice was noticeably lower than before, and for a moment, I didn't recognize who it was. When I turned around in surprise, she was looking at me with a puzzled expression.
Hey, what's with you? You've been staring at my face the whole time. Is there something you don't like?
Because she was so beautiful, I unintentionally kept gazing at her, but that was indeed impolite. Trying to apologize for my rudeness, I turned to face Michelle, but before I could say anything, she continued.
You really are a complete idiot.
Startled by Michelle's unexpected words, I answered with a foolish voice. Huh, is this person really Michelle?
By the way, are you two really siblings? There's such a big difference between you as siblings. Sam has been walking the path of success since childhood, but what about you? Just a high school dropout working as a hotel staff. And your face, Sam is a handsome man who suits me, but you're plain, to say the least. You've fallen far below my expectations. It's amusing.
Caught off guard by Michelle's sharp words, I couldn't hide my confusion.
What's with that foolish look on your face? It's really funny. Your educational background is written all over your face.
Saying that, Michelle whispered softly in my ear.
Hey, you know what? Maybe you're not really related to Sam. I mean, you two have nothing in common, not even in your brains or your faces. Something must be off. Oh, I get it. You're probably the stepchild of that mother. You come from a single-parent family, right? With a mother as shabby as yours, it's no wonder. I'm sure Sam's father was disgusted and left. That's why you don't resemble Sam.
With a face that seemed to mock me, Michelle looked at me as if she were examining me. She even insulted my mother. Just because we come from a single-parent family. Even if she mocks me, I can't tolerate my brother's fiancé insulting the mother who raised both me and my brother. You can say whatever you want about me, but please refrain from speaking ill of my mother. I can't forgive you just because you're my brother's fiancé. Vi spoke loudly to Mitchell. Fueled by a surge of anger, Mitchell crossed her arms, shifted her weight to one leg, and responded.
A middle school dropout girl dares to challenge me. That's why I really hate people with low intelligence. It's a stain on my life to have someone like you, a middle school dropout, become my sister, even if it's just by marriage. Hey, can you do me a favor and pretend to be someone else at the wedding? Actually, it's unthinkable for a middle school dropout like you to become part of my family in the future.
After saying that, Michelle made a clacking sound with her heels and left. What's wrong? Why do I have to be told such things? Was this the kind of person my brother chose? With a heavy heart, I entered the room, and Michelle, who had returned earlier, gestured for me to come in, as if she had been waiting for me.
Sarah Chan, you're finally back. I've been waiting. I want to talk to you about something. Hurry, hurry.
Michelle called out to me in a charming and friendly manner, as if she were an actress. It sent shivers down my spine that someone could change so drastically without being an actress, but I followed Michelle's prompting and returned to my seat. Once I had firmly settled down, Michelle wasted no time and began speaking.
Well, you see, actually.
While slowly turning her gaze towards everyone, Mitchell drew it out. When our eyes met, she seemed to be smiling mischievously.
The thing is, I want to ask our adorable little sister, Sarah Chan, to give a speech as part of the entertainment.
Huh? Wait a minute, I haven't heard anything about that. For a moment, it felt as if time stood still due to the surprise. But apparently, I wasn't the only one who thought so.
What, Sarah?
It seemed to be a sudden revelation even for my brother.
Sam, I'm sorry. Actually, I talked to Sarah Chan in the restroom earlier, and she said she wanted to do something for you. So I thought maybe I could ask her to give a speech.
Mitchell casually talked about non-existent facts. Before I knew it, I found myself staring at Michelle with a blank expression. As I regained my composure, my brother, who had a smirk on his face, and Michelle, who was smiling, were looking at me.
I'm happy that Sarah will give a speech, but is it okay?
It's fine. It's for you, big brother. Seeing my brother's delighted expression, I couldn't refuse. Yes, that's right. It's not a bad thing if my speech makes my brother happy. I don't know what Michelle is really thinking, but I decided to go along with her impromptu idea. Time passed from the day of the meeting, and we finally reached the wedding day. Thanks to careful preparation, the ceremony was proceeding smoothly. As someone who had never been to a wedding before, I was nervous in the unfamiliar atmosphere, but I was even more anxious about whether I could deliver the speech well. I clenched my fists and my hands were sweating. I tried to drink water because my throat felt unusually dry, but my sweaty hands couldn't grip the glass properly. It's going to be okay. I can do it.
Sarah Chan, congratulations today. You'll be giving a speech later, right? Do your best, okay?
Yes, thank you very much.
Oh, don't be so nervous. You'll be fine. Sarah Chan, you've practiced a lot. I guarantee it. Look.
A senior colleague, who is a veteran and always treats me kindly, patted me on the back. Since Mitchell assigned me the speech, I have been practicing every day after work. At first, it was like when I was a rookie and kept making mistakes, practicing alone and mumbling to myself. But my colleagues, who saw me in that state, joined me in the practice. Thanks to them, I became able to deliver a speech smoothly and confidently in front of about 10 people. However, speaking in front of hundreds of people is a different scale. Thanks to the experienced hotel staff, I felt a little less nervous, but my hands were still sweating. And finally, it was time for the entertainment.
Ladies and gentlemen, please pay attention.
Michelle's high-pitched voice filled the venue. She suddenly stood up from her seat and walked towards me. Then, she took my nervous hand and placed me in front of the stand microphone. Michelle put her hand on my shoulder, brought her face closer from the side, and spoke into the stand microphone.
Now, Sam San's younger sister, Sarah Chan, will deliver a moving speech. Actually, this Sarah Chan here grew up in a single-parent household and gave up on high school education. She immediately started working at this hotel after graduating from middle school. She lived here and worked as a hotel staff, sacrificing everything, including education and pride, to support her only parent, her mother.
Mitchell introduced me in a way I could have only hoped for. She even mentioned my family and my mother. She was trying to make it an emotional and tear-jerking story. I was genuinely infuriated by her sarcastic and demeaning tone.
She's such a hard-working girl despite her young age. The speech will be delivered by Sarah Chan, who has endured such a commendable life. And guess what? To make it understandable to the foreign guests present here, she will deliver the speech in English. So, please, give her your support.
Huh? English? Did she just say that?
Yes, Sarah Chan. Oh, did I forget to mention it? It's all right. Sarah Chan learned English until middle school, remember?
Michelle spoke sarcastically into the microphone once again. Everyone around seemed to think that I would be giving the speech in English and eagerly awaited it. As I froze, Michelle smirked and said,
Sarah Chan, who has been working at this hotel for many years. As you all know, This hotel has a strong popularity among foreign guests, and we have foreign guests visiting us on a daily basis. And now, among the gathered guests here, we have many foreign visitors as well. With Sarah Chan's extensive experience in a multicultural workplace, she should be able to deliver a wonderful speech in English. That's why I asked Sarah Chan. It shouldn't be too difficult, right?
Indeed, Michelle was right. There are many foreign guests staying here, and I had heard that there would be many foreign guests among the attendees on the day of the meeting. But even so, springing it on me suddenly on the actual day, it was so mean-spirited, Sarah. It seems like she wanted to embarrass me in front of a large audience. Why would she come up with such a plan on such a beautiful day? They're truly terrible. While I was thinking about that, time was not waiting for me. When I looked at my brother, he had a worried expression on his face. The guests didn't seem to understand the situation and were whispering and looking at me with puzzled faces.
What's taking so long? Can someone who only finished middle school speak English?
People were heckling and laughing at me. Cold sweat was pouring out of my body, and I could feel the beads of sweat running down my back. What should I do? What should I do?
Sarah, don't give up. Stand tall.
Suddenly, the voice of a veteran colleague who had encouraged me earlier echoed in the venue.
Sarah, you can do it. Come on, straighten your posture and take a deep breath.
Following the senior's instructions, I straightened my posture and took a deep breath.
All right, Sarah, you can do it. Look, Annie guarantees it.
In response to that voice, my colleagues started cheering one after another, saying,
Do your best. You can do it.
Everyone. All right, let's do this. I took a deep breath and started my speech in English, deciding to speak freely without looking at the Spanish script I had written. I'm not necessarily smart, as she said, but I have received a lot of love from my mother and brother, which is why I was able to come this far. And I am very happy to be able to attend my beloved brother's wedding. When I heard that my respected brother was getting married, I was so happy and had high expectations for the wonderful person he had chosen. But on the day of the meeting, those expectations were quickly shattered. Upon hearing my words of being betrayed, the venue became restless. However, disregarding that, I revealed how Michelle had insulted me and my mother in the restroom during the first meeting. The commotion in the venue grew even louder. Nevertheless, she is the woman my brother chose. I sincerely hope that he will be happy. Big brother, I'll miss you, but please visit us occasionally. Mom and I will be waiting. In the end, I expressed my gratitude to my brother and conveyed my feelings. At that moment, various emotions overwhelmed me, and tears almost welled up. But while delivering the speech, I felt strangely happy, incredibly happy. After I finished speaking, in the silence that followed, the venue erupted into loud applause. My mother and brother looked delighted, and it seemed like they hadn't expected me to deliver a speech in English. Michelle had a visibly frustrated expression. Her own misdeeds had been exposed. Well, serves her right. When I looked around the venue, I noticed there were Asian guests present. Feeling confident, I continued my speech in Chinese and Thai. The voltage in the venue skyrocketed, and it was filled with a standing ovation, thunderous applause, and voices shouting,
Amazing! You did great.
Michelle looked visibly frustrated, tightly gripping her dress and gritting her teeth. The reason why I learned so many languages was because of the environment in this workplace. The luxury hotel where I work is famous worldwide, and it attracts a lot of foreign tourists. As a result, my colleagues were also diverse, with Germans, Chinese, and Swedes working together. They knew that I liked the trending idols and would watch their videos during breaks. At that time, a Swedish colleague taught me Swedish while watching videos on YouTube. and from there, it expanded. During our breaks, we would teach each other languages while watching YouTube videos. After a while, I started understanding the languages spoken by the idols, and I became proficient not only in Swedish but in other languages as well. It became natural to use multiple languages in my daily life, including at work. Surrounded by applause, I confidently looked at Michelle's face as I returned to my seat. But then Michelle came towards me, grabbed my collar with a fierce expression, and brought her face close to mine as she angrily spoke.
You've got some nerve. Who do you think you are?
Michelle's spit landed on my entire face. She shook me while her face turned red. Her expression went beyond anger and looked rather embarrassed.
Why did you expose everything about the first meeting in front of everyone?
Why? I was about to respond when my brother grabbed Michelle's shoulder from behind and shouted,
Michelle, that's not the main issue here.
It was the first time I saw my kind-hearted brother so angry.
Michelle, what is the meaning of this? We never said anything about an English speech on the first meeting. And did you really behave that way towards Sarah on the first meeting? Did you really say those things about Mom?
My brother seemed furious. He fixed a sharp gaze on Michelle. After a brief silence, Michelle finally spoke, unable to withstand my brother's piercing gaze and the relentless boos from the audience.
Yes, it's true. I did. Because it's absurd, isn't it? That someone as outstanding as Sam could marry a middle school graduate like Sarah. It's embarrassing. Sam may be handsome and highly educated, but his sister isn't particularly beautiful or smart. It's a disgrace.
Michelle shouted and then collapsed on the spot, exhausted. The audience responded with loud boos once again. As Michelle attempted to come at me again, muttering,
Everyone is like that. Damn it. Damn it. It's all because of you. If only you weren't here.
Sharp, dry sound echoed throughout the venue. I cautiously opened my eyes and saw that my brother had slapped Michelle across the face.
Michelle, even after hearing Sarah's speech, you still...
My brother's shoulders trembled as he bowed his head.
Hey, Michelle. It's undeniable that both Sarah and I have grown up so well because of Mom. And did you listen to Sarah's speech? Sarah's just like Mom, incredibly hardworking. And she's talented, just like me. Isn't that right?
My brother pleaded with tears streaming down his face. Michelle's face turned red again, and she remained silent, looking down.
I never thought Michelle would do something like this. I genuinely believe that our blood-related family was the most important. We've talked about this many times, haven't we? I thought Michelle would understand. It's a pity.
My brother took a deep breath, as if he had made a decision.
Let's start the marriage from scratch.
The moment Michelle heard my brother's words, she suddenly raised her face and burst into tears, collapsing to her knees. She clung to my brother's legs and pleaded,
Sam, please, just not that. Forgive me. It's my fault. Even if I come from a single-parent family and lack intelligence, I love Mom and your sister. So please, just not that.
It was pathetic to see Michelle desperately clinging on, even though all of this was her own doing. And what's more, she didn't seem to reflect on her actions. My brother's determination remained unchanged. A few days later, my brother officially called off the engagement with Michelle. Apparently, Michelle and her parents desperately apologized and tried to stop him, but they couldn't see any signs of remorse. Considering that Michelle had said such things once, my brother decisively cut ties with her. For a while, my brother looked lonely. However, he still told me that family was the most important thing. Michelle, on the other hand, ended up resigning from her job as well. Colleagues who attended the wedding spread the incident to other employees, and rumors about Michelle started circulating. She began to be pointed at behind her back. Even Michelle couldn't bear the discomfort and ended up resigning on her own. About a week later, when everything had settled down, I received a phone call from my brother. It was truly delightful news. Michelle's previous employer had reached out to me, offering a job opportunity. The supervisor who attended the wedding heard my multilingual speech and wanted me to join their company. When I consulted with my superiors and colleagues at the hotel where I had worked, they all encouraged me, saying,
Go for it.
I expressed my gratitude to the hotel that had taken care of me and joined the company where Michelle had worked. Being skilled in multiple languages, I was more valuable than Michelle, who could only speak English. It was a different and stimulating experience from my time as a hotel staff member. I left school to enter society and support my family. There are many people like Michelle who judge me solely based on my educational background and look down on me. However, I believe there are more important things than academic qualifications. It's about gaining experiences. Experiencing many things firsthand expands your world and enriches your life. From now on, I don't want to come arrogant with knowledge alone. I want to experience and apply as much as I can in my daily life.